Who's ready for the slow burn enemies to lovers romantasy that I was absolutely unable to put down? Well, then stick around for my review of Shield of Sparrows by Devney Perry. Hey there, book lovers. I've got another romantasy for you guys this week, but this book felt like so much more than just your generic run-of-the-mill romantasy for me. There were layers upon layers to the story, some action here, a little mystery there, and tons of character development that really sets it apart from the rest of the books in the romantasy genre. As I have mentioned before, there will be spoilers in this review. I will do my best to add spoiler tags wherever those show up, just to help you guys out with those. But I did want to give everybody a heads up that those will be in there in case you haven't read the book and you want to avoid those at all. Shield of Sparrows tells the story of Odessa, a princess of Quintus, who is unexpectedly chosen to marry Xavier, the Prince of Tura, instead of her sister May, in order to fulfill a peace treaty between the 5 kingdoms of Calandra. As the royal house scrambles to make arrangements for the sudden change, Odessa's father instructs her to spy on the kingdom of Tura and discover all that she can about the location of their hidden capital city, Alisaria, as well as find out everything she can about the Guardian and his powers, and if she finds an opening and finds a way to assassinate him and eliminate him as a threat. She learns that this is a task that her sister has been trained for, but there's no time to train Odessa before her sudden marriage and voyage from Quintus to Tura. So Odessa was a really interesting and well-written character to read about. She is the overlooked eldest daughter of the Gold King of Quintus. None of her talents are deemed good enough by anyone around her in Quintus. She's not a good fighter. She's not a good liar. She's not a good, political strategist. She's not really good at anything that anyone in the royal court of Quintus around her values. And so she's constantly compared to and passed over for her half-sister May, who is better at everything that a princess of Quintus should be. And so her sister is basically chosen as the heir and is chosen as what is known as the Sparrow, who is meant to be married off to a prince, one of the 5 princes in the 5 kingdoms of Calandra, to fulfill the Shield of Sparrows treaty. It's a peace treaty that ensures that none of the kingdoms are able to go to war with one another. It's tied up in blood magic, which basically means that a sparrow can't kill her husband and her husband can't kill her, without, the other dying. Like it ensures peace throughout all of the kingdoms. And so Odessa goes through the book feeling like she is never anyone's first choice. And even when she does get chosen unexpectedly to marry the Prince of Tura, and her father ends up having to confide in her with the mission to find Alisaria and everything that he has trained and entrusted May to have to do, she still feels like he doesn't trust her enough to tell her everything, and she feels like he's still keeping things from her that he has otherwise shared with her sister. And it was really heartwarming to follow her on the journey from feeling unwanted to eventually finding a place among the Turans as she gets to know them and earns their respect and trust. And it really added to the story for me when those encounters with the Turans that she befriends ultimately leads her to questioning who she should be loyal to and whether she can continue to betray Tura to help her father. Another character that we get to spend a lot of time with as the reader is the Guardian, who serves as Prince Xavier's protector. He ends up spending more time with Odessa than the prince, and there are reasons for that I will not spoil, that you get to reveal. They get revealed later on in the book. There are very special reasons for that. But he is basically the main male character in this book. He ends up becoming Odessa's combat trainer, and she starts out the book despising him and trying to find ways to figure out what his weaknesses are, find out what his he has like these extraordinary powers, and he's just this really amazing fighter, and she's trying to do what her father tells her to do and find a weakness and find a way to eliminate him as a threat and assassinate him if possible. And the chemistry between the two of them was really enjoyable for me to read. I am finding more and more as I read more of the trope that I am actually a fan of the enemies to lovers trope. And this book was no exception for me. It definitely helped strengthen that, just because it was very enjoyable to read through, and it was a very well-written enemies to lovers arc. I am usually not a fan of the slow burn trope, but this author wrote it so very well that I didn't mind it at all, and I actually enjoyed it for once. Usually when there's a slow burn involved, I'm typically wanting to get through it quickly, and it's usually pretty annoying for me. But this one was written very well and paced very well to where I did not mind it at all. So I did very much enjoy that one. While traveling through Tura, Odessa and the royal party encounter many different monsters, proving that her new kingdom is much more dangerous than her homeland of Quintus, and that's further complicated by the discovery that some of the monsters have been infected with a mysterious disease known as Lysa, which turns their blood a dark green and makes them more dangerous and aggressive. And so when she finds out that the Guardian's extraordinary powers are a result of him also being infected with and slowly dying from that disease, Odessa is determined to help find a cure for that disease. I liked this little tidbit because it just tied in so much to the world building of this book, which I also absolutely loved. All of the fantastical monsters that Odessa and the company encounter, to the description of some of the towns that they stop in. Just the world that this author has created felt so original and so very immersive that I felt like I was actually there while I was reading. And it is definitely one that I am really eager to revisit once book 2 comes out. There was spice in this book, as can be expected with any romantasy nowadays. Romantasy just tends to become synonymous with spice. But I appreciated that it didn't dominate the entire book, that there was really only one scene, and even that didn't take place until later on in the book, almost toward the end. And maybe that had to do with it being a slow burn. I'm not really sure why, but I really did enjoy that it was not, like I said, it wasn't all over the book. It wasn't every other scene. And it didn't, like I said, it didn't really happen until towards the end. So it was definitely something that if it's not something you want to read, you can skip it or skim it, and it's not going to detract from the plot at all. It didn't hinder my reading in any way. And I really did appreciate that. Now, I do expect, as with the way book 2 in Romantasy series tend to go, I do expect book 2 to have more spice. That is just a trend that I tend to see when I'm reading Romantasy series. So I would maybe watch out for that. I'm expecting it when I pick up book 2 when it comes out. I'm expecting it to have more spice than this one, but I mean, I would love to be proven wrong, especially for those people who read this one and are eager to read the next one and just aren't interested in spice. But that is always a possibility with books like this. Overall, I would give Shield of Sparrows by Devney Perry 5 out of 5 stars. There were so many more reveals that happened toward the end of the book that just made me love the book so much. That I don't want to spoil for you more than I already have. So I won't share that here, but I did mention that I am eager to return to Calandra when book 2 comes out next month. And I'm already planning to buy both books when that book comes out, because I do think that I will end up rereading both of them before book 3 comes out, since there will be a bit of a wait between book 2 and book 3. And I know I'll want to reread and catch up. And I love this series enough that I will definitely see myself reading it multiple times. If you are a Romantasy fan and you haven't read this one yet, I would definitely recommend checking it out. If you are anything like me and enjoy enemies to lovers and, you know, are willing to try out a slow burn that is really well written, I don't think you'll be disappointed. This was a first read for me by this author. Obviously will not be the last. This author also has a lot of contemporary romance books that are, if you're interested in that genre in particular, they are also, a lot of them appear to be on Kindle Unlimited, if that is something that you have access to and are interested in trying her out as well. So that is all that I have for you guys this week for my review. But I did mention last week that I was reading too much at one time to have finished anything last week, and that the same is true for this week. So instead of having something finished for you guys to share, I do have another What Am I Reading this week? And so what I'm reading is Eragon by Christopher Paolini. And this is the story of Eragon, a poor farm boy who stumbles upon a dragon egg and is forced to flee his home and everything he knows with the fledgling dragon in order to keep them both safe from the Empire. It is book 1 in this author's inheritance cycle. This is a book club pick for my book club this month. I had not read this book since middle school when it came out, and I never actually finished the series because at the time the series was not finished. So I am eager to reread it because I loved it back then, and I'm very much looking forward to continuing and completing the series. There is talk that this is being made into a live action TV series for Disney Plus. It's currently in development for that, with the author co-writing and executive producing. Hopefully we get a more faithful adaptation than the movie that we got back in 2006 for this one. We won't talk about that for lots of reasons. But if you guys have read this one and enjoyed it or didn't enjoy it and have thoughts on it, please feel free to share those in the comments. If you have read Shield of Sparrows and have thoughts on that, please feel free to share that in the comments as well. I always look forward to talking to you guys about books that you have read or are interested in reading. So definitely share those thoughts with me. For those of you interested in finding out what's next on the channel, be sure to be on the lookout for my review of A Land So Wide by Erin A. Craig. I have mentioned this one before, and I have finally gotten around to finishing it and being able to review it for you guys. But this is a story of Greer Mackenzie, who must fight the curse on the town of Mistaken and the creatures known as the Bright Eyes that lurk outside the town's warding stones in order to save the man that she loves. This is a standalone adult novel by this author based on Scottish folklore. I really, really enjoyed this one. If you've seen my previous review of Small Favors, then you know that this author is a favorite of mine. If you missed that review, you can catch it here. And this one actually reads very similarly to that one, even though that one is a YA book. There were a lot of similarities as I was reading this one to that one. But I really, really enjoyed this one, and I can't wait to share my thoughts with you guys on it. So be sure to check that out. But that is all that I have for you guys this week. If you liked what you saw in this video and you want to see more like it, please be sure to like and subscribe to the channel for more content. Otherwise, I will see you next time, and happy reading!